All right. Hello again, adventurers, and welcome to another exciting daily vlog. It's Daily Vlog 2026, number 4. And today, I am done with AI. And let me explain exactly what I mean by that, because for the vast majority of like these, I'm going to use the exact correct term to describe it, nonsense levels of crazy anti AI people. I think you're all morons. I really do. You have started this crusade about something based on entirely conjecture and outright lies that has never been a real problem. The idea of AI is taking people's jobs. It's not. Have some people lost their jobs because someone was stupid enough to go, well, we have this AI and they can do the exact same job? Yep. Those companies that have done that are fucked. We've seen it over and over and over again. Every single time AI has been used to replace something creative, and a lot of times not even creative things. Like there's a story I just read yesterday where there's a police department that is experimenting with using AI to write police reports. For anyone that doesn't know, a large portion of a police officer's job does not involve them doing anything exciting. It involves them documenting what they did at every single stop. And depending on how intricate the interaction was, the police reports can take significant amounts of time. However, they are essential. The reports themselves are used in court proceedings. They're used internally by police departments to improve training and a bunch of other things. Like, they're not something that can ever go away. They are absolutely essential. So there's actually apparently two different companies that have created AI programs that will take body cam footage and translate it into a police report. And so this one police department in somewhere that I can't remember is using one of these two programs. And in one of their official police reports that was actually filed because nobody caught the mistake, according to the police report, the arresting officer turned into a frog. And that's the biggest problem with generative AI right now. Technically it's two things combined. It is what's referred to as hallucinations, which is basically where the generative AI just makes shit up for no explicable reason. Nobody knows why they hallucinate. They just do. And as of right now, no one can stop it. Like, no one has come up with a way to prevent it or to limit it. Nope, it is a completely random process. And the other thing is the AI is not smart enough to be able to differentiate between certain things, like a Disney movie and a police stop. Apparently what happened in this police stop was The Princess and the Frog, which is a Disney movie from like 2008, 2009. It's really good. It's one of the few Disney movies that I actually haven't seen because I really enjoy Disney movies. Specifically, I enjoy like the Renaissance, Disney Renaissance style movies. So, Little Mermaid, Aladdin. Aladdin is my favorite movie ever, or my favorite animated movie ever. I love it so much, and I used to watch it a ton as a kid. That kind of stuff. So anyway, The Princess and the Frog was playing in the background and got picked up by the body cam, and so the AI was not able to tell that what was being described in the movie wasn't really happening. So this whole reason I'm talking about this, I firmly do not believe that AI is taking people's jobs. Can people give me examples of, well, this person lost their job? Yes, there have been people who have been fired because a moron thought that AI could do their job. That moron was proven wrong relatively quickly. And the longer this goes on, the less people are being replaced by AI for a number of reasons. The audience backlash has limited AI substantially. And then, again, the quality of the work that AI does is shit. And I'll come back to that in a little bit. So, no, I am never going to be swayed by the idea that, well, it's taking money from real animator. It's not. It's really not. The environmental impacts of AI, again, I really could not give a flying fuck more. If your singular problem with artificial intelligence is how much power it uses, first of all, you don't understand how power is used throughout the world. Yes, AI uses a shit ton of power. Guess what? It won't. That's how technology works, is they will come up with better and better ways of doing this, and very soon, and by very I mean within the next 10 to 20 years, if AI continues to evolve, I have a really hard time believing that this particular flavor of AI is going to continue to evolve, because I believe that it's kind of hit its limit as far as the useful things that it can do, and a new version of it built from the ground up is what will eventually replace it, not an upgraded version of this. And most people that are developing AI have kind of come to the same conclusion at this point. We've pushed this particular version of AI as far as it's going to go, and pushing it further is only showing its limits. But whether this version of AI keeps going or a new one comes up, it will use less and less and less power. It used to take a computer the size of my bedroom to do basic computation, and it would require almost its own power plant. Like, it drew tons and tons and tons and tons of energy. And now everything that computer did, I can do on a Raspberry Pi that is this big. So the idea of, oh, it just uses and it's destroying them, it's really not. I'm sorry. And if that's your problem with it, then you shouldn't be going, well, we should ban it. No, your solution should be, we need to find better ways to power things, because the exact same horrible, disgusting things that are happening because AI uses so much power, I will guarantee you electric cars are significantly worse for the environment. Impressively so. Like, the process of making, like, just the batteries that electric cars run on is so incredibly toxic for the environment. It releases so many pollutants. It is completely unsustainable. It is impressively bad. No one gives a shit, because electric cars have been marketed as so much better than fuel burning cars, and so it's the savior of the world. It's not. It's all about money. It always has been. Always will be. That's how things work. It's how things have always worked. It wasn't always specifically money. But whatever has value in a society, the society will find a way to put that at the top of its priority list. It's always how it's been, always how it will be. Humans create value for things, and then once that value is agreed upon by multiple people, people will do everything they can to get as much of that value as physically possible. Congratulations, you've just learned how just economics in general works. Not even like capitalism or social or a specific economic system, just economics and human nature. It's how it works. It's always how it's been. So, with all of these things, and then well, I guess we can get into the reason that I am done with AI. So, if I really don't care about, artists losing their jobs, because they're not, and I really don't care about the environment and all the children's, why am I done with AI? Because I believe it is actively detrimental to art. And let me explain exactly what I mean by that. Because that can be kind of misconstrued as a very kind of elitist style thing. I've never been a big fan of the idea that tools that make it that more people can access certain things that used to be limited to people that dedicated significant portions of their life to do it. I'm actually a huge believer in those things. Again, I'm disabled. There are a lot of things that I simply could not do if accessibility just simply wasn't a thing. So the ability for people to experience things that they couldn't otherwise through tools that kind of give them shortcuts, I actually don't have a problem with that. What I do have a problem with is what I'm starting to see as kind of an over reliance on AI for people that just don't have a natural gift for something. Like a really good example, and I'm going to preface this with the idea that the person I'm about to talk about is someone that I consider a friend and a colleague. I have the utmost respect for them. This is not meant to be a condemnation of them in particular. And because I am an absolute coward, I have not actually brought this up with them because I don't believe the conversation would really be beneficial to them or to me. They have their own belief structure that they are completely fine with. And I have my own belief structure that I am completely fine with. And neither one of us has a problem with the other person's belief structure. This is not religion. This is specifically talking about AI. Like, I don't mind that they have decided that this is what they want to do. I understand what they're doing and why they're doing it. Completely understand. I don't agree with it, but it's not something I'm passionate enough that I feel like they need to stop or anything like that. And they have had conversations with quite a few different people where they've basically just said, this is what I like to do, and I'm not going to change it because it works for me. So I don't really feel the need to, chastise them or anything like that. This is not meant to be some sort of condemnation of them in particular. This is just a trend that I am starting to see that I think is detrimental to quite a few of my hobbies, which is why I'm just not going to be a part of it in any way, shape, or form. So if any of the people, because there's a few different people that they might consider this a condemnation of their actions. If any of those people are actually watching this video, again, I don't have a problem with you personally. I don't like what you're doing, but I don't like it in the same way that I don't like celery. Again, I don't think celery's evil. I don't think celery shouldn't exist. I just don't like eating it. So I'm not going to eat it voluntarily. So with that out of the way, something that I have been seeing recently, and I've been seeing this every so often, like the TTRPG space in general, is the idea of NPCs and the things like that. If you have been in any TTRPG ever, with a few very, very rare exceptions, one of the more difficult things for a game master to do is not just to be able to come up with NPCs, because that is as simple as rolling on a table, but to come up with kind of memorable NPCs that the players are going to have like a good picture in their mind, and you can bring them up later on, and the players go, oh, I remember that person. Of course. Definitely. And, they create these relations and stuff like that. That's actually very, very difficult. And it takes quite a bit of work, and not just from like a creation aspect or a creative aspect where you have to create a memorable, realistic character and then embody them so that the players find something to attach themselves to. There's also kind of a management aspect to it. Keeping track of all these different NPCs is very, very difficult. And it does require a little bit of work in bookkeeping and things like that. So what is starting to become a little bit more common, depending on which parts of the TTRPG space you are in, is GMs will use generative AI to create pictures of NPCs so that when they introduce an NPC, they can just go, and this is what they look like. I'm going to tell you guys right now, the GMs that are doing this, again, like one of the big artists, well, they could have paid artists, and that's taking money out of those. No, what would have happened if they didn't have generative AI is they just wouldn't have pictures. So the argument of, well, it's taking money that should be going, it's not. This art would never have existed without generative AI. It just wouldn't. And given the exact same situation just without generative AI, they just wouldn't have an image, and they would have described the NPC in other ways. They would have actually described them as opposed to using AI to have a physical picture of what they see in their mind's eye. And that is what my problem is, and why I'm basically done with it at this point. It's not that I have this revulsion to AI-generated art that burns me to the core. I find it kind of lifeless and boring. I have never seen a piece of AI art, probably with a few rare exceptions, because there is some AI art out there that you really can't tell is AI art. So it's possible that I have seen AI art that I've been blown away with. I couldn't tell you a single piece of AI art where I've gone, wow, that's really cool. Every time I see it, I just go, oh, that's upsetting. Because it's just not fun. Not that, again, the act of creation by a computer is... No, I don't get any joy out of looking at it. Whether or not I know it is AI generated, like, you can just tell, it just doesn't feel... like it feels boring to me. And we could talk about things like the Uncanny Valley and all these other things. Like, if you guys want to really kind of drill down and try and define, well, the reason that you find it lifeless is actually because of this and this, which shows that AI is evil. I don't want to get into that conversation, because a lot of it has to imply motive where there really isn't a clear motive, and it just turns into a bunch of finger pointing, and I don't want to talk about that. It's boring. It's not useful. Also, from an aspect of, I personally believe if you are kind of debating something or discussing an actual problem, the purpose of the discussion should be to come to some sort of solution. Whether that solution is, okay, now we at least understand what's going on, or the solution is, this is how we fix it. Because not every discussion can come up with a solution that fixes it. But simply being able to reach a point where everybody understands what's going on, in my book, is a solution. Because understanding the problem is the first step to a solution. So I'm perfectly fine if we were to have a discussion and actually come up with an understanding of what's going on. But it is so emotionally charged, and there's so many people that really don't care about the why. They just have this vendetta against AI in general. Which, fun fact, they actually don't. They just really, really don't like that certain artists are getting upset about AI because they feel threatened by it. Again, most of the people that are massively anti-AI have no idea how it works, have no idea what it is or anything. They've just been told that it's stealing money from real artists and it's going to ruin the world based on nothing but hyperbole. And so I don't want to have that discussion. No one that's having the discussion right now has the understanding of AI well enough that we could come to an understanding. Not an understanding where we both agree on something, but an understanding of, okay, now we actually understand what's going on. Because the people that are making AI right now don't understand what's going on. Again, that whole hallucination thing, nobody understands why that happens. It just does. If they understood why it happened, they could fix it. So, getting back to the TTRPG thing, the art itself doesn't spark any sort of interest for me. If I see AI art, I'm not instantly going, oh, I'm now attached to that character, because that's the benefit of having artwork for your NPCs, is because humans in general have a significantly easier time creating an emotional attachment to something that looks familiar to us and looks humanoid in some way, shape, or form. We are a very visual species. Like, the reason we have eyeballs is we attach a lot of meaning to visual things. It's the reason why art exists in a visual form. Like, we like to see things, and it's one of the reasons why we anthropomorphize there we go. There we go. It's the reason we anthropomorphize things. I don't know why my brain wouldn't let me say that word. I've said it a billion times. If you're unfamiliar with the term anthropomorphization, the word anthropomorphizing is the act of us imparting human characteristics to inanimate objects. So the things like, really, really good example. If you've ever seen the Pixar movie WALL-E, WALL-E is adorable. It's my favorite Pixar movie. I love WALL-E. Probably my favorite part about WALL-E is the first 45-ish minutes of the movie. There's no actual dialogue aside from some commercials, and a song from, I can't remember, from a musical that I can't remember right now. But the plot is told entirely through facial expression and visuals, and it's done so incredibly perfectly. But the actual spark that created WALL-E was one of the Pixar animators, and I can't remember if it was John Lasseter or just someone at Pixar, was at, I want to say they were at a baseball game or something. They had binoculars. For anyone that's never been to an actual baseball game, there are seats where you can see everything perfectly fine. Those are very expensive. For the majority of poor people like me, we saw baseball games from the bleachers, where the players were this big. I still have very, very fond memories of being in County Stadium, which doesn't exist anymore, but it used to be the stadium where the Brewers played. It got replaced by Miller Park, which is now, I can't even remember, Miller Brewing Company won the naming rights for the first 20 years of the stadium existing, and now I think it's State Farm Field or something like that, because they bought the naming rights. It's still Miller Park to me. It'll always be Miller Park to me. But anyway, I still have really, really good memories of being in County Stadium and being in the nosebleed bleachers seats, which in County Stadium, when you got to the very, very top, there was just this massive, massive wall. And then at the top, there was also this metal roof that came over, but there was this gap between the roof and the wall for air circulation or something. I don't know. The whole stadium didn't have a roof. It was just the very outer edge had a roof. And I remember chucking peanut shells and stuff like that through that hole, because I was a great kid. Or the gap. It wasn't a hole. It was this big or something like that. It was big. So anyway, so when you sat in the nosebleeds, a lot of times you'd bring binoculars. And what happened with this guy was he had this set of binoculars that look identical to WALL-E's eyes. And while he was sitting there, he just kind of had the binoculars, and he started realizing that if he changed, because the way the binoculars worked is you could rotate them to basically spread out the eyes, so they would fit with your face, because not everybody's eye spacing is exactly the same. So as opposed to just doing this, the way the binoculars worked is they rotated like this. And he found out, and you can get binoculars like this everywhere. They've existed for, decades. He found out that as he changed the shape of the binoculars, he could make them smile, he could make them sad, and it kind of inspired him. Is like there's so much expression in just these little binoculars. I wonder if we could create a character around that, and that's where the idea of Wally came from. And the rest of the story followed from there. So getting back to the whole tabletop RPG thing. I have my little fidget spinner. Anyway, getting back to the whole tabletop RPG thing. It is very, very useful to have pictures for players to kind of identify with. They will identify more with a picture than most times they will with a description. I have run pre-written TTRPGs that have art and things like Curse of Strahd. If you've ever run Curse of Strahd, first of all, it's a fantastic adventure. It's probably one of the best 5th edition adventures ever written. It's one of the best Dungeons and Dragons adventures ever written. It is phenomenally good. But in the Curse of Strahd book, they have images of Strahd himself, but they also have images of Irina and the other people that I can't remember their names right now. When we were doing the transition from D&D Next to 5th edition, there was this thing called the Second Sundering. It was this huge event that kind of justified the change of rules from 4th edition to 5th edition. And I was running games in game stores at that point. I was actually running the D&D program for multiple local Giga game stores at that point. And one of the things that game stores would get is they would get these little cards that I still have. I believe they're in the other room. I still have them, but they were little NPC cards, like for Sir Istival, who was a paladin of, I can't even remember. It might have been Kelemvor, possibly. He was a paladin, I know that, and he was a paladin of a good deity. And he shows up in a lot of those adventures. And so whenever I would have to reference Sir Istival showing up, I could just pull the card out, and it was very, very useful. So I understand the idea behind wanting art. And if you, well, to be perfectly honest, if you are an artist, the likelihood that you're going to spend the time and energy creating custom artwork for every single NPC that you have, it's never going to happen. A single high quality portrait, even a small one, can take minimum, it's going to take you hours, if not days or weeks. And in an average, in a tavern, you might have a dozen or 24 different NPCs that the players might interact with. And over the lifespan of a campaign, you probably have hundreds of NPCs. No one in their right mind is ever going to put that much effort into an NPC. Like it's just not worth it. Most players don't put that much effort into their PCs that they play for years. But with generative AI, you can knock out 3, 4, 5, 6 NPCs in an hour if you know what you're doing. And that's the other thing about generative AI, is it's not this like perfect thing. You actually have to understand how to make the prompts correctly and how to correct them and keep changing. Like, it's not just make me this and then it happens. It does actually take work. But the results just aren't fun. I don't make connections with these. And again, this might be a personal thing for me. It's very possible that other people incredibly enjoy. In fact, I do know there are other people that do enjoy being able to see stuff like that. But the problem that I'm seeing is because now you have a picture, you no longer feel the need to go through the process of describing the character in enough detail that the players can get their own image. Like, one of the things that I do with my NPCs, anytime I'm introducing really any NPC, but especially if it's an NPC that I'm expecting them to interact with for a meaningful amount of time, I will start by describing their entrance. Whether that entrance is the character physically walking into the room, or it's the player characters and how they're noticing it, I will always have a description. You know, they come in and they want to talk to a barkeep. You know, as you glance over to the bar, you see a large feminine presence behind the bar. As you glance over, you see these large muscular arms covered in this slightly olive toned skin. As you follow them up with their kind of bulging muscles up to the torso, and eventually you see this obviously half orcan face with these tiny little tusks kind of poking out at the corners of her mouth. As she looks around, you see what you assume is a local kind of gesture to her. She immediately kind of turns, barks something at him, and you watch him flinch for a moment, and you see the whole scene become tense for a moment, and then she throws her head back and laughs as she pours a tankard of ale and slides it over to him. The people around him start kind of jabbing a little bit, kind of teasing him for the reaction, and then she notices you. She looks over and goes, "Hey, what do you want?" That description gives them a physical description of what it is, and sometimes I'll go into more. You see long raven hair, matted and covered in sweat from the hard work that she's doing. It goes down to her shoulders and trails down her back, disappearing behind her shoulders. Or I might describe her clothing. You notice that she wears a rather functional working dress with an apron that has seen better days. It's obviously well kept for, but there are stains that will never come out, including a few rust-colored ones that you're not sure whether they come from her bleeding on her own apron or from patrons that didn't pay their bar tab correctly. All of these things help to create this very visceral image of this half-orcish barkeep. And by describing all those different things, you start to get an idea for, her mannerisms. You start getting an idea of who she's going to be. All of that stuff is essential for the players to really relate to the character and really to really start to make a connection with that character. But what I'm seeing more often than not is you see a barkeep and she looks like this. And that's it. And yes, very, very useful to have a picture. Again, I've played D&D like that, where I've had artwork officially from Wizards of the Coast. But one of the things that I tend to do, even when I have artwork, is I'll still do my introduction. Because the reason I'm describing that character the way that I am is I know what they look like in my head. And my goal is to get my picture of them to match your picture of them. And so I have to use all of my grasp of language to be able to create this image in your head that matches the image in my head. Sometimes I succeed and sometimes I don't. But that's part of being a game master, and that's part of being a storyteller in general, is the idea of I have this image in my head and I need to get it to a place where other people can see it as well. And so I'm going to find ways to do that. And sometimes that's through description, sometimes that's through actual imagery, sometimes it's just through voices and mannerisms and other things like that. Sometimes it's through smells or sounds, but you use all these things together to help people to see what it is that you already see inside. And what I'm seeing more and more often is, and this is what they look like, and we move on, because now you don't have to work really hard to hope that they see the same thing that you do. Of course they see the same thing you do. You have the picture. That's the picture. See, that's what she looks like. It's the picture, and you see the picture, right? So if I asked you, what does this person look like? You would say, they look like the picture. and it's done. You know, it's done, and we can worry about other things. I don't think that is a healthy way for the. I don't think that's a healthy way for the community and for tabletop RPGs to evolve. I feel like that is taking a step back from what RPGs have been doing for 50 years. By now, we have been improving our storytelling capabilities, and we've been coming up with new ways to interact with players and get them involved in the story. And typing in multiple prompts, again, it's not just like I push a button and then the picture comes out. It does take some work, but doing that stuff and then going into the game and just going, and this is what she looks like, it's taking a step back in the realm of storytelling. I mean, it just, I just don't see that being good. And what eventually happens is you get so reliant on the ability to just pull out this art whenever you want, which again is not actually a new thing. Before generative AI, what some unscrupulous dungeon masters would do is they would just steal pictures off the internet. They go, it looks kind of like this. And if your Google Foo was good enough, you could find an image that works. There's lots and lots of artwork. And now with things like Creative Commons, you can actually have images for most of your NPCs that don't use generative AI, that you can actually find from actual real artists. Fun fact, you can also find a lot of generative AI that's released under Creative Commons. So be careful about that. I mean, again, this is not a new thing. It's just, this is a new tool that, because of how customizable it is, I'm starting to see people relying on it and losing some of their own natural storytelling abilities. And I think it's making the hobby suffer. I think if instead of describing your characters, you are now just going, and this is what they look like, it becomes significantly less fun to watch. And it's not as much fun to play in, because you're no longer being taken on this trip of, you know, oh, what are they going to describe next? What am I going to experience next? You're just getting, this is a picture. In the picture, pretty. Look at the picture. That's the picture. Now we can move on to the real fun thing that I wanted to do. I just don't like it. And so that in and of itself was starting to turn me off to it. But it hadn't gotten to the point where I'm like, you know what? I'm done with AI. I'm not using it anymore. I'm not touching it anymore. I'm not allowing any of it in any of my games at all. Then I fairly recently, and again, this is not meant to call anybody out. This is not meant to be a chastising. This is not meant to be me rebuking anyone. This is just an observation that I made. I was running a game the last year or two, and it kind of fed into all this stuff. And I recently had this epiphany, but this has been something that's been building up for a little while now. I recently, within the past year or two, I ran a game, and as I've mentioned this before, one of the things that I require for anyone that plays in any of my games is they're required to give me a backstory, and specifically they have to give me a written backstory. Not because I am the dungeon master and you will do what you are told. It's two reasons. One, if they write it down, there's a significantly better chance that they're going to remember it. Two, if they write it down, there's a significantly better chance that I am going to remember it. Now, I have no problem sitting down with players. Like if someone's going, I can't write a backstory, I'll go, okay, we'll do it together then. And I will sit down and I will build a backstory with you. That I have no problem with. I actually really, really enjoy doing that. Eventually, I've talked to a friend of mine. We're going to sit down and we're going to build a backstory for a character live or record it. I don't know. No, I don't think I would do it like in a live stream or something. But I'll record me and one of my friends actually building a backstory for a new character just to show you how much fun we have doing it. So this is not me going, well, if you're not creative enough to come up with a backstory, you can't play at my table. No, I want everybody to play at my table. Anyone. Like, I remember, one of my players, his name is Scott. Scott has played in every single one of my December campaigns. Every one of them. When Scott and I met, I actually can't remember specifically where we met, but it was in a chat room. It was probably on Geek and Sundry, in their chat. And I believe they said something as like, damn, I wish I could play D&D, but I don't have a group. I said, "Will you ever try playing online?" I said, "Yeah, but it's so hard to find people that aren't like, do you want to play with me?" He goes, "Huh?" I said, "Yeah, do you want to play? I'm starting a new campaign. Do you want to play in it?" Well, so there's a problem. What? He's like, "Well, I have a speech impediment. It's kind of hard to understand me." And I don't remember my exact words, but it was something to the effect of, I would never allow something like that to stop someone from playing D&D. And I think the way that Scott phrased it or something like that, if you're going to be streaming this, because I think I told him, I was like, "Yeah, I'm going to be streaming a game." He's like, "I don't think I should do this. Like, your audience have a hard time understanding me." And my response was, I would never let something like that stop someone from playing D&D in my table. Don't worry about it. Worst case scenario, we will come up with a way. Like, if for whatever reason, like, we really can't understand you, I'll just have you type it in chat and I'll read it out or something. But I would never want something like that to stop someone from playing, or being a part of a live stream gig a game. And if you've watched, again, Scott plays in The Legend of the Three Kingdoms, which is one of my Wednesday games, and he was recently in my Dark Sun game. He's been in every single December campaign that I've ever done. I also just realized I think I forgot to upload the last episode. I'll do that after I'm done with this, of my Dark Sun campaign. So it's not that I think it's like, well, if you can't do this, then you shouldn't be able to play. No, I will bend over backwards to help anyone that needs it to be able to play. And that includes having a unique character and a compelling backstory that gives you plenty of motivations for why your character does what it is that they do. So in this recent thing, I told everyone, yep, you need to have a backstory. And I actually had two different players that gave me AI written backstories. And one of them full out just basically said, "Yeah, I know it's AI, but I did write the backstory myself. I just had AI kind of flesh it out for me. This is the prompt that I used." And the thing that I don't want to say, I guess I will. The thing that upset me the most about it was the prompt that they wrote was perfectly fine. Like, that's all I really needed for their backstory, was the information that was contained in the prompt. I think I read the AI version of it once. I just glanced over it. I didn't like it. It felt weird. It felt very kind of flat and lifeless. And I never used it again. I would specifically go back to the prompt they gave, because again, that had all the information that I needed. And again, I've never confronted them about this because I don't really see it being beneficial to anyone. And again, this is not me saying, well, they're a bad person, they're a bad player. It's not. This is just how they decided to do it, which is perfectly fine. But I've been thinking about why in the world, when they already had done the work, like they'd already done the hard work, which was creating the backstory, why in the world would they use this AI? And I think this is pure conjecture. Again, I've not confronted them. I've not talked to them about this. This is just pure conjecture on my part. I think that they felt that whatever they wrote would be worse than whatever the AI would write. And so it was just simpler to just go the AI route, because they were never going to be able to create something that was better than that. And that is soul crushing to me. That is so incredibly upsetting to me. Not because of the AI. Again, I really could not give two flying fucks about AI. But the idea that somebody thinks that their own creativity and their own grasp, which this particular person has a very good grasp of the English language. Spoiler alert, this was in English. You guys probably could have figured that out due to the fact that I don't speak any other languages. I barely speak English. They have a phenomenal grasp of the English language, and when they want to, they can create very interesting, very moving descriptions. But for some odd reason, they're like, no, AI will do this better than I can. The other solution I thought of was maybe it was just, oh, well, AI is quicker. Again, I don't see AI being that much faster. When again, the prompt that they created already had all the right information in it. So maybe it was just a convenience thing, and maybe I'm reading too much into it, but in my mind, because again, there's two different people that did this. The second person didn't even give me their prompt. They just said, okay, this is the backstory for it, and the other backstory I actually had to rewrite a little bit because because it was AI written, it actually didn't fit with the campaign setting or anything like that, and so I had to kind of rewrite a few things and go, well, it doesn't quite work this way, stuff like that. Again, I didn't chastise them or anything. I just said, you know what? Is it okay if we change this, and this to turn it into something that I can use? They're like, yeah, sure, that works perfectly. But that was kind of the final nail in the coffin for me. That took a while for me to fully, like, I've talked with my therapist about this and things like that because this is a really, really big thing. And that was kind of the final thing that I just went, you know what? I'm done with this. Not because, again, I think AI is evil, but because I think that it's actively harming the creativity of people that are starting to become overly reliant on it. Again, I personally am not a visual artist. I've never been good at drawing or painting or anything similar to that. The only quote-unquote visual thing I have ever done, and I've done it by hand and I've done it by computer, is write music. Like, I can physically write music. I used to joke, the only art that I make involves 5 lines and a bunch of dots because I used to write music. I don't think I was ever particularly good at it. But I used to do it. I wrote like a dozen or so songs for voice and keyboard. I wrote 2 movements of a symphony, none of which I think would ever win any awards. But I only wrote music for like 4 or 5 years, maybe like 6. Had I continued writing music, I probably would have gotten a lot better. I just stopped. I still, the program I use, Sibelius, I still own a copy of it. I have it installed on my computer. So if I wanted to, I could start writing music right now if I wanted to. I just, with how my brain works, I have a really, really hard time concentrating and hearing all the different instruments at the same time to be able to write things anymore. So getting back to the point, I understand the idea that I will never be able to create art for my NPCs. It is not a skill set that I have. Could I eventually become passable at it? Possibly. Again, the tremor does not make things easier. But there's a lot of tools nowadays that can help people like me that have, tremors and things like that to become amazing artists. But it's a shit ton of work to become an artist. And I would have to neglect other things that I am actually good at in order to develop my artistic talent into a skill. And I just don't want to do that. So I completely understand the idea of, I really wish I could have art for my NPCs. But I can't, and so I focus on the things that I can do. I have a very good grasp of the English language. I understand painting a picture with words. I have a very, very good grasp of sound and music and things like that. And so I can find completely legal, free music that doesn't involve me stealing from anyone. Copyright free and Creative Commons stuff exists, and because of my knowledge of music theory and my own experience with music and language and art and things like that, I can create very interesting, very unique descriptions that will allow the players to see these characters. And I think the fact that I can't just sketch artwork of the characters has been beneficial for me, because it's forced me to learn how to better describe my characters and better embody them. It's made me a better actor, because now I have to find ways to physically exemplify aspects of the characters in my voice, in my mannerisms, in my word choice, things like that. It's made me a better actor. It's made me a better dungeon master. And again, this is not me saying that if you use, artwork, you're somehow less or anything. But I am seeing people that are now relying on it because, and the only solution I can come up with is the idea of well, whatever I make is not going to be as good as this. And that's so incredibly heartbreaking. I firmly believe everyone can play RPGs. I firmly believe everyone can tell stories. Even if there's this thing, my brother and I were talking about it because, so in your brain, fun psychological fact, in your brain, if you think about something, do you actually see an image of it in your head? Like if I tell you to think about an apple, can you actually see like an apple in your mind's eye? That's not a universal thing. There are a lot of people in the world that have no kind of like internal image of the things. And I'm not one of them. I not only can visualize things in my mind's eye, I can interact with them. I have really, really good spatial awareness and really, really good, I believe there's a term for it, but like I can visualize things in front of me and kind of interact. Like I can go, oh, here's the apple and here's the stem and there's a little leaf right here, and I can twist the stem off, and then I can bite the apple and now there's a hole right there. Like, and I can break the apple in half and now there's two halves. Like that's, it's a really important skill to have if you ever get into mime work. Which I never had a chance to study, and it kind of upsets me because mime as an art form is so incredibly impressive to me, because a lot of people think of mimes as just these annoying people that don't talk. No, the true art of mime is the ability for them to literally create objects that don't exist and convince other people that they do. Like the thing where, I'm in a box. Someone that is truly gifted at mime work, you will be able to see exactly where the box is, despite the fact that the box doesn't exist. Fun fact, Richard Dean Anderson, Colonel O'Neill from eventually General O'Neill from Stargate SG-1, he was a mime before he became an actor. He was also MacGyver, if we want to go older. He was a mime before he became an actor. And people have asked him about it, and he always kind of jokes around. I was like, yeah, this is a big rope. This is a smaller rope. Things like that. But mime is an incredibly useful skill to have, because not only does it help your kind of awareness of the space around you, but it helps you to be able to visualize things that aren't there, which is what acting is. You have to pretend that things are real that aren't. And especially modern day film acting, where so much is computer generated, the ability to kind of create these images in your head, put them into the real world, and then interact as if they are really there is essential. So anyway, getting back to tabletop RPGs, I have no idea what got me on that little tangent. But yeah, it really, really upset me. Not upset me as in, I'm so mad, but it was very sad. Like, just like the idea that these people think that somehow this soulless flat writing was better than what they created. is really, really upsetting to me and discouraging, because if more people think like that, they think, well, I'm never going to be as good as this stupid program. And I've experienced it. I had a buddy of mine who's playing around with early Chat GPT when we were talking about marketing descriptions, copywriting. Not copywriting as in like this is copywritten protected. No, copywriting in marketing is writing copy, and basically it's you writing whatever is being used to sell something. That's what copywriting is, and copywriters, that's what they do. When I was first starting to get my degree, I actually thought that I could actually make a pretty good living being a copywriter. And if my brain worked the way that I would like it to, I probably could. I enjoy copywriting. So they were talking about trying to sell something, and I said, well, here, I have a degree in marketing, and a decade of experience in sales. I should be able to do something. And so I wrote them a little description. I said, what do you think of this? I think this is a good description. It was a first shot. It was not like, the thing about copywriting in general is it's not something you're like, oh, there, I have written the copy. Everything is done. No, you write it, and then you read it to other people, and then you workshop it, and you focus group it and stuff. Like, it goes through a lot of revisions before you have a final product that you actually use. But this wasn't going to go through any of that. And so I wrote something out. I was happy with it. I said, give this a try. And then they asked ChatGPT to make a copy for it. And the version that ChatGPT came up with was so much better than my copy. And this is not just from like a creative aspect. This was like, okay, well, it's got the call to action in it. It's got all the different parts that you're going to need. It uses these particular words that are known to be very, very useful in the sales process. Like, it had all the mechanics that it needed, and it also was it read well. It rolled off the tongue. It felt good to say, and I was just blown away. I was just like, use that, dude. It's better than anything I'm gonna write. And it was kind of upsetting. It's like, well, there goes copywriting. If ChatGPT could do that, like, copywriting is dead. We're just gonna have computers writing copy for everything. And this was years ago. Fun fact, the copywriting industry still exists. And ChatGPT and Grok and all those other stupid things, they have not taken a single inch there. Because yes, this one time they wrote something better than someone who has never professionally copywritten in their life. They can't compete with actual copywriters who have the time to revise and do all these other things. They just can't. But so I can understand that feeling of, damn, I guess I've been wasting my time. And I thought very highly of myself. I still do sometimes in the realm of sales, because I was very, very good at it. But I thought very highly of myself, and that knocked me down a peg so fast. I've never been humbled that quickly in my life. But that was me half-heartedly doing something I'd never done before, for something that was going to actually earn people money, not something for fun or something like that. But this was something where I would feel bad if I said, well, give me more time and I will beat the robot. No, the robot gave you a really, really good thing. And if it makes you more money, use the robot thing. This is the entire reason I made my pitch, was that you could make more money. I wasn't asking you to pay me for it. I'm not losing any money here. So if this is going to make you more money, use the thing that makes you more money. Like, that's just how it works. But the idea that, for a game that's just for fun, that people are sitting there going, well, I could do it myself, but this robot will do it so much better than me. Why should I even try? It's so discouraging, because it stunts your growth as a creative if you start relying on someone else to do the work for you. Even if it does create quote-unquote better things than you could create, which isn't really a thing in creative fields. Is George R.R. Martin a better writer than Dr. Seuss? No. they're different. They have completely different writing styles for completely different audiences. George R. R. Martin is a very skilled writer, and he's written things that a lot of people like. So is Theodore Geisel. For anyone who doesn't know, Dr. Seuss's real name is Theodore Geisel. And I will guarantee you more people have read Theodore Geisel than they have George R. R. Martin. And that doesn't mean that George R. R. Martin is a bad writer in any way, shape, or form. He's just different. And Dr. Seuss has been around a lot longer than George R. R. Martin. So the idea that, well, this made a better version, what is it? No, it made a different version. It may be a version that you personally like more, or you think uses language better or something like that, but it's not better, it's just different. And if you don't embrace the aspects of your own creative process that make you different than other people, then you're never going to become a true creative. And that's really, really upsetting to me and discouraging to me. So, to kind of sum all this up after an hour, my problem with AI is not that I think it is morally wrong. I don't believe that it's stealing jobs from people. I don't believe it's going to erase industries. I don't believe it's killing the planet. All of those are, emotional arguments that are meant to help you villainize something that you don't understand. My problem with AI, and the reason that I'm right now just saying flat out, nothing I do moving forward will have anything involving AI. I will tell all my players, don't use AI for your backstories. Don't give me AI concepts for your characters. If you do not have the skills necessary to explain what you want me to see yourself, then you and I will sit down and we will come up with a solution together. Because that's what I do. And I'm very good at that. And I enjoy doing that. And I enjoy helping other people become more creative. So, the reason that I'm not going to use AI in any of my stuff anymore is because I think it's discouraging people from becoming more creative. And that's not something I will support in any way, shape, or form. I'm not against tools that allow people that don't have natural talent to do things. I am not against computers or anything like that. But I am very vehemently anti-discouragement of creativity. I believe everyone can be creative. Everyone in the world can be creative in some way, shape, or form. Your creativity might not be artistic. Your creativity might be mathematical. Some of the most amazing things that have happened in science have been creatives looking at scientific problems from a completely different mindset. And no one outside of physics or chemistry or biology or that, no one outside of that would ever consider those solutions, quote unquote, creative, because they don't quite understand. Or even like mathematics. Like mathematics is so incredibly bizarre and strange and fantastical, because it is mathematics is entirely made up. Math doesn't exist. We made it up to explain things, and so we can predict other things. But it is entirely human created. And a lot of people look at math as very, very cold and logical, and a place where creativity goes to die. And it's not true. Some of the most amazing mathematicians in the world were exceptionally creative, and that's why they were able to expand math in ways that had never been done before in the history of the world. And that's where new treatments for diseases come from. They come from creatives that are just logically minded versus creatively minded. I think everybody can be creative in some way, shape, or form. And the idea that AI is convincing people that what makes them creative and what makes their creations unique is not good enough, and so that they shouldn't even try, that is terrifying to me. Interested to hear from you guys. As I mentioned before, if anyone kind of sees themselves in the descriptions I made, again, I'm going to repeat, this is not a rebukement of you. This is not a commentary on you. This is a commentary on things that I've seen in a lot of different places, that certain things that have happened relatively recently, like I said, within the past couple years here, has kind of solidified something I'd been feeling for a little while. So please don't take this as me getting mad at you or being disgusted with you or anything like that. I'm not. I have the utmost respect for everyone that I've referenced in here. I have the utmost respect and fondness for what it is that they do, and I do not think that they're lesser people or anything like that. I just found it very, very discouraging that the idea that they might feel like their creations are lesser in some way because a robot can make something that they think is better. Like that's really upsetting to me, and I never want someone to feel like that ever. So, like I said, interested to hear from you guys. I'm not sure if I've ever had like really long, in-depth conversations about AI on this channel. I probably have, and I just can't remember them. But I'd be interested to hear what you guys feel about my thoughts. Again, if you're going to try and convince me that AI is ruining the environment or something like that, just stop. You probably don't know what you're talking about. I will almost guarantee you don't know what you're talking about. But, and even if you do, let's say somehow like an actual environmental scientist comes in here and goes, no, actually, I know exactly. I really don't give a flying fuck. The amount of times that, environmental scientists have been dead wrong in the past, let's say 40 years. Tell me one more time how if we don't do something in 5 years, the Earth is doomed. I think the last time we got told that, I think AOC said that like 10 years ago. Gore said that at the turn of the century. Gore, by like 2015, California was supposed to be underwater. Because of global warming, and we're supposed to have no ice caps anymore. All that stuff is nonsense and based on flawed computer models. So if you're here to argue about the environmental impacts, I really don't give a flying fuck. If you're here to argue about how real people are losing their jobs, fine, go ahead and argue about that. I've never met a single person that has lost the entirety of their livelihood due to AI. They might have lost a job. I sincerely doubt that they're never going to create again, and they're never going to get paid for it. It's not a thing. AI art just isn't that good, and it can't replace real people. It just can't. It doesn't have the ability to. But if you'd like to talk about, this idea of people using AI to basically discourage themselves from growth, I'd be interested if anyone else kind of sees the same thing I'm seeing, or if this is something that's kind of uniquely me. And am I seeing something that's not actually there? Was it really just like my my examples? Was it really just people like, I just really don't feel like putting the effort into this, so I'm just going to do the AI to do it? And it had nothing to do with them going, oh, I'm not creative enough, and everything to do with the fact that, well, if I push this button, it's faster. Let me know your ideas in the comments below. Otherwise, again, that is all for me today, and I will see you guys next time. All right. Bye-bye.